To you from the Sandton Convention Centre. If you've just joined us, we've been bringing you the memorial of eNCA, real name Keenan Jared Forbes, as you can see there. One of South Africa's most renowned rappers and hip-hop artists gunned down in Durban just at the weekend, and this was his memorial service. It is always going to be a spectacle. Such was his artistic life as well, and the ending there, a musical tribute featuring some of his biggest hits and some of his leading collaborators in music and in life. Earlier we heard from various well-known South Africans who had been part of AKA's life and of his family, opening a scripture led by Kabelo Mabalane. There was also a tribute given by DJ Tire and Oskido, one of the most famous musical names in South Africa. Premier Panyaza Lesufi also bringing a tribute. But the tribute that most people will probably have been hit by was that of his mother, Lynn Forbes, who let the public in on some of their more private moments as a family and spoke of a very intimate relationship she had with her son and how he looked up to his father as well. And she spoke quite warmly about how she considers the father of his child, DJ Zinhle, as well as his current partner, Nadia Nakai, to be her daughters from here on in, and of course quite a bit of focus on his very young daughter who's now lost her father. We're going to take you now live to the Sandton Convention Centre. My colleague Pule Letshwiti-Jones is standing by. What a send-off for AKA, Pule.
Definitely. I mean, most of his fans, family, and of course industry colleagues have humanized him. They've introduced us to a kind of personality we really didn't know about AKA, beyond, being a musical artist and a celebrity as well. This is one big giant who was humble, but very much opened doors for a lot of people as well and gave them the opportunity to shine. One, of course, is a moment whereby he donated, of course, money to some academic institutions during the Fees Must Fall era as well, but most importantly being described as a true patriot and a very proud South African. But I'm just going to speak to one of his industry colleagues as well. Thibaut Touch joins me right now. Thank you very much for speaking to us, Thibaut. Obviously this is quite tragic. It's a huge loss for the hip-hop industry, but for South Africans as well as a whole. How are you feeling?
Look, gifts are given to few because many are chosen, but many are called, but few are chosen. And Keenan was one of those who is amongst the few. And when the few falls, the country must be at a standstill and say, what's happening to the DNA of this creative, the creative pulse of South Africa? We're all dealing with questions that can be answered. We're all dealing with a situation where eyes are on law enforcement. Are we despondent as a nation? Yes. Are we looking for answers? Yes, we are. Are things the same? No. Something has to happen. And the power of the media is to vocalize the hurt and the wound of the voiceless. So I'll speak on behalf of the voiceless. If it happens to Keenan, what about that young girl in Kwamashu? What about that unpopular human being or murder or death that's not going to make the headlines? What's happening to our country? What is it in South Africa that we need to do to understand that a life is given to you once and none of us are here for rehearsal?
What do you make of the hip-hop industry and in fact the music industry as a whole? We saw in fact one artist as well, DJ Somebody, also being gunned down during a hail of bullets. Do you think that more security is also needed in the industry now? More awareness around this is needed?
Listen, the magnanimity of a gift surpasses a genre. It is not about hip-hop. It's not about... we're not losing artists over cancer. We're not losing artists over any kind of disease or sickness. These are crimes. You're talking about DJ Somebody, it's a crime. Keenan is a crime. These are incidents that took place in a society where we voted people to give us comfort. And I don't know if there's KPIs in law enforcement, but we cannot live in a state where we don't have hope in law enforcement.
Yeah.
And I pray that, some reawakening of the fear of God happens in our society. Because it can happen to me tomorrow.
If you had one message to tell Keenan, what would it be?
I wish our FaceTime conversation from LA was a bit longer, because we were meant to do a collab with an international artist. And I guess God has the answers to what will happen next. Love you, boy, and your music will forever be our anthem, engraved in our heart. Thank you, Keenan. Thank you, AKA. I love you, boy.
Thank you very much, of course, Tibo Touch joining us there, Metro FM DJ, and of course, artist speaking to us just about the fond memories he shared with Keenan. Quite devastating. Many remember him for the kind of ethic he had and how they were close to him. But I'm just going to continue to show you how when some of the people leave here. As I'm going to ask my colleague Asanda to show you people who are leaving the venue now, making their way to several destinations where they will be, of course, celebrating the life and memory of Keenan, aka Forbes. Quite a lot was said, especially from his mother. I may just want us to take a listen to what his mother had to say earlier on, describing the kind of person Keenan was, but most importantly, saying we've become his sons, and the fans have become family to her as well. Let's take a listen to what Keenan's mom had to say earlier on.
My beloved children of the Megacy, Keenan's body has been taken from us, just his body. It has been taken from this world in the most brutal way. And I do understand. That just like me and our family, you must feel the same, you must be feeling the same amount of anger and incredible pain and be in a state of absolute disbelief. All these emotions are normal human emotions, and I want you to feel them. But I want you to be in control of how you manage them. My dear friend Khadija, my business partner is in this room today with us, and she will always say to me, "How are you feeling, my friend?" And I'll say, "Fine." And she'll say, "But how are you really feeling?" And she will teach me, and I've used it a lot this week. She's taught me how to breathe and self-regulate. Not be strong, because I think strong is a bit overrated. I think we need to learn how to regulate our emotions.
Pule, some very strong and intimate stories shared there by Lynn Forbes. Some stories that many wouldn't have heard before about listening to music together in the early hours of the morning, and them having a very, very close relationship, even as father and as mother and daughter, and then also of how much he looked up to his father. A very, very close-knit family, that both in business and in family life. But then Lynn Forbes also spending quite a bit of time acknowledging Keenan's partners that he's had in his life, his current one, as well as the mother of his daughter. And she made a point of using this platform to acknowledge their presence and saying that they would always be welcome in their family home.
Basically saying that they're united and they become one family. And you're probably wondering why I keep turning my head, looking onto my left. It's just the movement here of people coming out, a lot of people, dignitaries, ministers, and of course well-known figures in the music industry as well, making their way out currently. And of course, I've been just trying to spot some of them who can chat to us and just, tell us about some of the moments they had as well with Kenan. But I just spotted one artist as well here who also worked alongside Kenan as well. Thank you very much for joining us, my brother.
Yes,
Maybe
sir.
if you could just introduce yourself and tell us the kind of memory you shared with Kenan.
Yes, sir. My name is Moxie Katoa. I'm a resident here in South Africa, but all the way from Zambia. How do I know the late? Yeah, last year, September, we worked together. An artist from Zambia, where I come from, his name is Makitu, organized a collaboration with him. And I just love the way he welcomed us, myself and my artist from Zambia. The guy was brilliant. We actually recorded at his house. I remember the day when we were doing the recording, asking us what you guys want to drink, what you guys want to have as in food, stuff like that. So, today is not only the sad day for South Africa, but I think for the whole continent.
And you speak about being from Zambia. How's the fan base that side? Are they also mourning the passing of AKA? What are the fans saying in Zambia? Because, you look at how he had an international presence. For instance, in Manchester as well, there's the African diaspora there who is still celebrating him. I was speaking to one colleague who says there's quite huge remembrance even on social media as well in relation to AKA. We've seen Burna Boy as well, hashtagging AKA quite a lot as well.
Oh yeah, no, look, the guy was big. AKA is huge everywhere you go. Right now, back home in Zambia, I'm telling you right now, everywhere is everywhere. Social media everywhere. People are just sad of what happened to the icon. And look, in terms of his music, big. And you see, he said to me the last time I had a chat with him, he says to me, I'm ready to come to Zambia. That's how I met 3 or 4 artists here. One of your biggest artists, but AKA was just something else, because like I said, the way he opened up to us without charging fees. He said to me, I'm ready, just take me wherever. He was ready to go work with all the upcoming guys back home. Anyway, in Zimbabwe, especially Zambia where I come from, yeah, he was open like that.
If you had one last chance to speak to AKA, what would you say?
What would I say? Oh man, one thing, he was just an icon, man. We just loved his music. That's how, we appreciate his music. That's what I would say to him.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thanks there. Speaking to us, of course, saying that he also worked with AKA. But of course, I'm just going to speak to one of the well-renowned artists as well in the hip-hop industry, Reason, who's chatting to us. Reason, my brother, thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, bro.
Obviously, quite tragic news for the hip-hop industry. Also, you yourself have contributed a lot to the music industry. Just, how do you feel?
I'm breathing. I'm alive. It's sad, man. It's sad. It's like, it's the weirdest thing I've experienced in a very long time, I guess anybody who ever listens to hip-hop, you'll know that, gun-related deaths are like thugs and gangs and all this like thug life, and we're talking about a father, we're talking about a brother, a son, just an ordinary musician. So I don't know how I feel.
How would you describe your relationship with Kenan?
It was cool. I was actually saying to somebody, our last conversation publicly was an argument, funny enough, and they said, so how do you feel about that? I said, it's the same, because me and my friend always argued because we never agreed on anything but music, So the only thing we ever agreed on was the songs we made and Kanye West. So our relationship was fundamentally based in the respect we have for each other as artists. Everything else we disagreed on. We never thought the same things about everything. But that was just, I guess, the building of the characters, because from those conversations you get to hear and understand why this guy was more passionate than everybody else about music, why this guy was more passionate than anybody else about sports, about life, about anything, yeah.
Mass Country dropping on the 24th of Feb. How much impact do you think this will have in the hip-hop industry?
Bro, I don't think it's about how much impact I think it should have. I think this is about how much impact everybody should make it have. I think everybody who's watching this right now should just set their timers and just buy the album. It's called Mass Country, so the Mass Country must really buy it. Let's make this the first album in South African history to go triple platinum in one day. Let's go and listen to it and buy it and support it, because at the end of the day, you could never silence AKA, and let it be testimony with this album and with the music.
Thank you very much. All the best.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, hip hop artists Reason, they're speaking to us regarding what they think should happen with the Mass Country album. Is expected to drop 24th of Feb. Obviously, AKA's last recorded album. But you've heard those are some of the memories they shared with the South African hip hop rapper, and like some have said, long live the spirit of AKA.
Our reporter Pule Letshwiti-Jones reporting to us live there from the Sandton Convention Centre as it seems like they're wrapping up the end of the memorial service for Keenan, aka Forbes. We'll bring you more reaction over the coming hour or so.